Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, an inclusive religious community of people supporting each other in the search for truth and meaning. I'm Rick Spradlin, your service leader this morning. This is our 6th meeting on YouTube due to the call for social distancing as a result of the COVID-19 virus. The chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom, but also of compassion, respect, and love. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. As part of our effort to improve our internet services, we have a new email address. From now on, we'll be using UUFCGA@gmail.com. UUFCGA@gmail.com. One of the ways we proclaim the vitality of our fellowship is through sharing brief and personal joys and concerns. I'll start by lighting a candle for all of our brave men and women who put themselves at risk each and every day as our first responders. The nurses, doctors, police, EMTs, and also those who are continuing to work in essential areas such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and fast food restaurants. I'll also be lighting a second candle for the 60,000 plus Americans that we have lost as of this week due to the virus, and a third candle for Joni Andres' grandson, Troy Combs, who was in a very bad automobile accident. He will be having surgery on both legs, so we want to light a candle for his positive recovery. If you have any joys or concerns that you would like to share with us, please email those to our President, Hal Majette, or to our Office Administrator, Brenda Stevens, at uufcga@gmail.com. Now let us once again affirm the 7 principles which sum up the core values that Unitarian Universalist congregations support and promote. Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Number 3, the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process in our congregations and in society at large. 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And now for our celebration of life toast. If you have something to drink already, you can use that or just toast with us in spirit. We celebrate life. We celebrate life with its beauty and its pain. We lift these cups in tribute to the achievements of human minds and hands, and in sensitivity to the frustrations of misfortune and heartache. Not fixing blame or credit for the outcome of chance, sensing the risk, savoring the joy, sharing it all. Knowing of the certainty of death and remembering the value of each moment, we drink our toast of celebration to this time, to the future, to each other, to the throbbing of the earth and sea and sky with life. Together, we drink this toast in celebration of life. And now for our offering. Of course, Ron Usry, our treasurer, is still paying bills and working from home as best he can. So if you'd like to make a contribution, you can mail that in to UU Fellowship of Columbus, Box 698, Fortston, Georgia, 31808. We also have a PayPal account that you can use with our new email address. I'd like to share with you this morning a sermon by the Reverend Allison B. Miller that she delivered at General Assembly in 2015. On a flight from Boston to New York, she wound up in a conversation with a teenager seated next to her. She was bubbly and filled with a spark. She shared the story of how she had just spent the week with some fellow youth in Boston at a church conference focused on social justice. Reverend Miller's ears perked up. Boston, social justice. She wondered to herself if this girl were perhaps a Unitarian Universalist. Now, other religions care for making the world a better place, and not wanting to be narrow-minded about it, she said, "It sounds like you've just had a very powerful experience. Can you tell me, what church are you a part of?" The girl responded, "Oh, the normal kind." "Well, what's the normal kind?" Reverend Miller asked. The girl said a bit apprehensively, "Well, you could say it's one of the Protestant traditions." Now it was clear to her that she was a Unitarian, but Reverend Miller wanted her to be able to say this out loud to a stranger. "Oh, which one?" she asked. "You've never heard of it," the girl said. So Reverend Miller finally said, "You're a Unitarian Universalist, right?" The girl's eyes widened and she exclaimed, "How did you know?" I said, "Well, so am I." This experience and others like it have me wondering, how do we tell our story? The young girl felt that no one would understand our religion. I can't talk about it with a stranger, especially on a plane. What if the story changed into, this is the chance to share how my faith has made a difference in my life? What if it is, people are hungry to know a religion like ours exists, a religion that honors many paths to wisdom and sees the divine imprint of love on every human being? How well do we tell our stories? How are we equipping one another to share the stories of our lives and our faith? For that matter, what are the stories we choose to tell? Who and what do we include? And who and what do we leave out? Ultimately, what meaning do we draw from the way we tell our stories, and can that meaning change? Can our story change? Many treasured stories, ancient and modern, help us grow into and grab hold of a new story. They engage our imagination and plant possibilities of healing and transformation where hope has grown dim and all seems lost. The Jewish midrash on crossing the Red Sea, the Buddhist parable of the mustard seed, and the Christian parable of the Good Samaritan are prime examples. When most of us think about the Israelites crossing the Red Sea, we only remember two things: Moses lifting his staff, and then God parting the waters. Midrash, a rabbinic tradition of filling gaps in the Torah, imagines there's more to the story. In this retelling, Moses raises his staff, but nothing happens. Just when it seems the Israelites have journeyed all this way only to perish, an Israelite named Nasham bravely puts one foot in front of the other and wades out into the water until he is literally over his head. His courageous act inspires others to join him. In another midrash, it is only when every man, woman, and child joins Nasham that the waters part and the path to freedom unfolds. This story shifts from one of divine intervention to one requiring ordinary human beings like us to step out into prophetic possibilities. In the Buddhist story of the mustard seed, a mother has just lost her child and cannot imagine life going on or having any meaning. The Buddha sends her on a journey to hear tales of sorrow and survival that reflect her pain and remind her that she is not alone. Her mother realizes that to love what is mortal comes from the risk of loss. She is able to let go of her son, to honor the immense love that bound them together and to begin down a path of healing. The Good Samaritan is not merely about being a good neighbor. It's about tearing down borders human beings construct between themselves and the other. Jesus is telling a story to a fellow Israelite. The enmity between Israelites and Samaritans was legendary. It is shocking to hear that it is a Samaritan who cares for the fallen man, brings him to an inn, and offers to pay whatever the cost. The story imagines a future where the lines we have drawn between ourselves and others are erased, and where we act out the religious truth: we are one human family. These wisdom tales remind us the stories we tell matter. They have the power to shape who we are and who we are becoming. As Unitarians, we lift up stories that call us to live into the spark of divinity, or the depths of humanity that resides in each of us. As Universalists, we lift up stories that call us to act out our belief that all life is interconnected and our fates are intertwined. As religious liberals, we choose guiding stories from a host of different sources: sacred texts, literature, science, nature, and prophetic deeds of ancestors, and out of the pages of our own lives. The following is a story of finding hope in the face of uncertainty from Reverend Miller's own life. When she was only 16, she lost her father, her grandfather, and was diagnosed with a rare form of incurable cancer, all within the span of 2 years. Her oncologist told her that she only had a 3% chance of survival. She would have to go through excruciating and debilitating treatments. She advised her mother to take her home and love her for the little time she has left, and not bother with such torture. Her doctor's words were filled with confidence. Her mother was stunned. Like the mother in the Buddhist story, she was still clinging to loss. Her story seemed to be that everyone she loved would die, and soon. Like Moses and Nishan, she faced an ocean of trouble, one that would likely lead to the death of her daughter. Should she step forward into turbulent waters, or should she accept what the oncologist interpreted as a clear end to her story? She chose a different script. She and her mother visited another doctor who looked at all the same tests and shared all the dire numbers, but told of a different possibility. She said, "I need to be honest with you. There is no successful treatment for this cancer. However, let's go on an odyssey together to figure something out. Any chance is worth it." They did go on odyssey, and it included a degree of torture, but Reverend Miller is alive today, a minister and a mother, against all odds. You would have no idea that this had happened but for the scars and diminished capacity of her left arm. Each of us arrives at this moment in part because of the love and compassion or courage and sacrifice of others, and each of us can offer the same in return. Moses and Nishan needed each other, and they both needed the wider community to reach for freedom. The mother, from the Buddhist mustard seed story, needs neighbors to open the door of their hearts and bear witness to life after loss. The Israelite, beaten in the roads, needs the Samaritan's care, but the Samaritan needs the Israelite to accept his offer. And together they create a story based on unity rather than division. Sacred stories spark a creative healing power of love that is able to break through suffering and brokenness in our lives and in the world beyond. Do we tell stories and act in ways that make the bonds of love visible? Who are we in these stories? Long after being cured of cancer, Reverend Miller was serving as a chaplain. She recalls intentionally reaching out to patients with her good arm and not her bad arm. She wanted to be sure to touch them from a place of strength and wholeness. One day she met a patient, the only person she had ever met, with the same form of cancer that she had survived. When she asked her to pray with her, for the first time, it felt right to reach out with her left arm. She opened the fingers as far as she was able and placed them on her shoulder. She knew in an instant that she had had her story all wrong. This is her strong arm, she realized. The one that knows something about withstanding pain and loss. The one that has experienced healing. It's not as functional as the other arm, but it most definitely embodies strength. She never thought of it as her bad arm again. Now, you too, sitting at home, have known suffering. You too have known healing. You have been in over your head, and others have saved you. You have seen others in pain, and you have reached out to save them. These are our stories. Tell your story with pride, with hope. Find meaning in the broken places. Raise your arms to the sky. You shall make way for freedom. We shall make way for justice. Together, your strength and my weaknesses, my strength and your weaknesses, can make a way through turbulent waters. Let us learn to tell a new story. And then let us live into it with the precious gift of this day. Thank you for listening. And now, before we extinguish the chalice, I hope that each and every one of you stay safe and healthy, and remember that dark times like these never last. They must always give way to the universal mandate of change. And so, we extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts as we leave this place. And now, even though we are apart, if you would please join me in spirit for our closing words. With unity of spirit, we go our ways in universal fellowship until we meet again. Be safe, and we'll see each other soon. So long.